So I'm interested in that, or that totally like fired me up when I was in high school. I haven't been able to stop thinking about that. The reason being, when albinism occurs on a branch, and that branch makes a cone, that trait can become heritable. It can make albino seedlings, and it can pass on that trait to the offspring. If you think about any other genetic mutation that occurs in these branches, if any of the branches make cones, those mutations, good or bad, can go on to the offspring. But the mutations have to be somewhat better, or if a branch grows better, then it might make more cones and more offspring. If a branch grows worse, it might make fewer cones and fewer offspring. And if a mutation has anything to do with the wellness, how well a branch grows or not, that may determine how much of its, how much that mutation gets reproduced through cones, through
And
in
those
offspring.
cones will make more albino trees?
Yeah, or any potential trait that would cause a branch to grow better than the rest. And so if you look at this, so in biology we talk about individuals don't evolve, populations evolve. A tree is a population of branches, each one of which can reproduce whatever might be genetically different about it versus the rest of the tree. So one of my projects that I did in graduate school is look at an old growth redwood tree and look at how much genetic diversity, how many mutations are there in the crown of an old tree. And it turns out that I just looked at 14 branches, but those 14 branches had what would end up being millions of different mutational differences between them.
So albinos can also come from sprouts, though, ground or from
Yes,
the base
and
of
like we
sprouts.
covered over here, the sprouts are sort of like branches just coming from
Yes, but
ground
they're
level.
coming up ground level.
Yeah, and so what you're seeing here is competition, or the tree is allowing for, if any mutations exist in the canopy, which they do, these trees mutate really, really quickly, actually. If any mutations exist that might benefit a branch or hinder a branch from growing, selection can act on those mutations, on those phenotypes, causing them to grow more, make more cones, more offspring, or at least more pollen, right? To reproduce with another tree in the area.
They are so clever.
So when you have an albino that's at branch level versus one that's at basal level,
Yes.
I mean, I've heard that the basal ones were capturing heavy metals and holding that.
Yes.
And it actually is very favorable to the tree.
Yeah.
Now, but when you go up higher onto a branch level, is that same process happening?
It might be.
But we don't.
We don't know.
But- but we do
So
know
I did
about-
that work on the
Yeah,
heavy
okay, cool,
metals.
that's what I'm asking.
So that's an example.
Yeah.
What that heavy metal thing is for albino redwoods is an example where selection is favoring a branch.
Yeah.
At the branch level, albino redwoods do really well for two reasons. One, they can handle the heavy metals, and two, probably because of the heavy metals, they can't make wood as well.
That's right.
And so the wood is sort of, the lignin in the wood is hard to make, or almost impossible for some albinos to make, making it cheaper carbon-wise. So that branch is really cheap to make. And all the tree can detect is that branch is growing well.
And it
Let's
feeds that branch because of the
invest
heavy
in
metal
it.
capture.
Yes.
So Zane, the sprouts and branches, like on the, what she called the big wave tree, those are gonna become trees,
They could.
like a redwood circle.
And we could talk about it when we get over
You know what
there.
I'm getting to?
What?
I'm getting to that the sprout is more than a branch.
The sprout could become a tree.
Agreed.
So let me give another example. So these trees mutate really quickly, and the longer they are around, just like any biological cell, the more time there is for mutations to occur, and the more cell divisions and all of this. So I wanted to find the largest clone or fairy ring of redwood trees. And I found a good candidate, finally met with a Berkeley collaborators so that we can get the sequencing, and it turns out it is a clone of 280 trees covering 1.5 acres.
Wow.
Over here in San Mateo County. And that clone, we suspect, based on mutation rate, so assuming the mutation rate of a single tree and extrapolating, so this is just we think it's about this old, 30,000 years old, from when it was a single
that's
seed
right, yeah.
growing outward over time for a long, long time. What types of different mutations might there be in a thing that's 30,000 years old, subdivided in 280 trunks, untold numbers of branches, right?
So that's why
All
it's hard to
sorts of
say
different
what is the
mutations.
age of the redwood,
Sure.
because of that.
Sempervirens.
Yes, yeah. So the idea that these sprouts are more than just branches, they can become trees. Just like a branch can become more or less reproductive depending on how well it grows and whether the tree invests sugars into that branch.
So is it still